Welcome back to the Corporate Burnouts. Hey, Mandy. How are you?
I'm doing so good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How was your weekend?
It was so good. It was a kind of weird weekend. So Dan went backpacking with his friends, and I don't do that. I did that one time, and I am a glamper, like
Yeah,
I don't want to carry all my stuff in and sleep on the ground, and that's not for
that
me.
sounds
It's
miserable.
it's mostly the bathroom situation that I don't
Yeah.
appreciate. And so I had the weekend to myself, but it was my sister's 40th birthday. Happy birthday, Malpal. And
Yeah.
so,
Welcome to the
um,
club.
yeah, so I spent Friday night, baking cookies and making her a blanket and all that stuff. That was fun. And then I went up and spent the day at the winery with her and my mom and her friends, and so that was really fun. And then Sunday, I just relaxed and it was great. I finished a book, I started a new one. I really had some me time. It was great.
Sounds like it.
Hmm. Yeah, I liked it.
Oh, well, I was not alone all weekend. I will say Chase was out of town all week last week and then left first thing Monday morning, and I knew that was coming. Everything was
Hmm.
great. So I made sure that all the things were done at home so that we didn't spend the whole weekend doing chores and
Hmm.
everything is project around here. But I was
Yeah.
like, what can I have completely done before he gets here so that when he gets here, we don't spend the whole weekend doing chores? And it
Hmm.
was like after midnight before he got home on Friday. So it was
Jeez.
a quick
Yeah.
turnaround. Well, it didn't change much. We did, however, get to go see the 24-hour musical that Paisley was in.
Yeah.
They did Grease. Now, let me like set the stage for you. So they find out on Friday at 5 what show they're going to do and what part they play. So they don't know anything until
Hmm.
Friday at 5. And then they have to perform it for a completely packed auditorium at 7 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's insane. So Friday evening, I spent running around to Goodwill and the resale shops and Walmart and Target and everywhere that I could think of, trying to come up with a costume for Frenchie because that was Paisley's part. And of course,
Yeah.
she's now rehearsing for 24 hours and has to come up with a costume. So I was like, okay, mom duty calls. Here we go.
Hmm.
But pulled it together, and it's hard to say that it's my favorite because man, this girl's been in some incredible musicals as well as plays
Hmm.
that they have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
But this 24-hour musical, the comic relief. So her friend Ryan was cast as Jan.
Oh
If,
my
I don't know if you picked
gosh.
up on that. So that you got a dude playing a girl, which is always funny, but like nailed it. This dude could be on Saturday Night Live tomorrow. Paisley pulls off the Frenchie accent and the
Hmm.
voice and the weird little laugh that I can't even do
Yeah.
it. The weird little laugh, like we literally laughed until we cried the whole time. Like it was hysterical and so much fun. They messed up and had to skip to the next scene so many times. The sweet boy who played John Travolta's part, Danny,
Yeah.
like, didn't even bother to try to memorize the words to Grease Lightning. He was just like, grease in my hair, got more grease in my hair. Like, just go, like, the words made no sense, but he had, like, the tune of it right. And then he'd be like, grease lightning. Like, when you get the gist, right?
Yeah.
They had a golf cart, a gas powered golf cart on the stage as the Grease Lightning
Yeah.
and had to push it because it didn't go because it's and all you can smell is gasoline. Like it was just the whole thing was hysterical. So that was a comic relief. And then for the rest of the weekend, it was like, what do we do? All the chores are done. The only thing there really is to do in Abilene, if you're not chasing kids like your own crazy life, you can go out to eat. We're trying
Hmm.
not to be fat asses. Um, or you can go drink. We don't
Hmm.
really do that a whole lot anymore. So we're like, what do we do? So we went and spent 10 grand on a mattress instead.
10 grand. Is it adjustable at least?
Oh yeah, it's the full Tempur-Pedic with the Billy badass base of it all. Like I was like, we're officially old.
Yeah.
But like,
But that's amazing. I love mine.
you have been telling me this for a long time. And I told Chase, I was like, we probably could have got away with just buying the base and keeping our mattress. Because I think now having laid on this mattress, the game changer part is not about the softness. We've always fought over like medium, firm, whatever. What makes the biggest difference is the way the adjustable base relieves the pressure points, right? Like it's
Mhm.
not about how soft the mattress is. It's the positioning of it. I mean, we literally were walking in and he was like, "This is so weird to me. Like, I do not want to just go lay on these beds." And I was like, "Whatever. It's the most fun
Yeah,
for me.
I'm
Let's
gonna.
go."
Yeah.
And he could have, I mean, we were in there for a couple hours. He could have taken a full blown nap. He was like, "I don't really want to get up." And I was like, "Well,
Yeah, that's the only
you
part
got it."
about a really nice bed is that you don't wanna leave it. I gotta tell you, for anybody with chronic pain, that is one of the coolest things is that you can figure out how to adjust it to where you take off that pressure point, because I work in bed some days when I'm in a lot of pain, and I just have to keep adjusting until it takes the pressure off, and then I can
Yeah.
just oh, it's amazing.
Well, and of course, the base that we got, like, does all the things that you don't need it to do, right? Like, I
Mhm.
don't need the vibration settings. I don't need the massage.
No.
I don't need
Mhm.
the Bluetooth speaker. So apparently, you can hook that to your TV and it will make the vibrations go with I'm like, this is a lot, but this is going to be really fun. It gets delivered on
Yeah,
Friday. So I guess we'll have a full weekend of enjoying the new
that's so
mattress this
fun.
weekend. So
I love
I'm
that.
excited about it. But yeah, all that to say, we had the most old people weekend, but it was really great. And now here we go again, a whole nother work
Yeah.
week of craziness by myself. It's still wild, but what do
Mhm.
you do?
Yeah,
It
it's all good.
definitely it makes me think back to the days where we were traveling because, there were lots of times where it was late on a Friday before we got in, and we were back on a plane Monday morning or worse, Sunday night to get to where we needed to be
Yeah.
by Monday morning, and I don't miss that. There's a lot of
No.
it that I don't miss, and I feel for him, but I'm also really grateful to be on the other side of this
Yeah.
other side of this mess.
Yeah. I can't with the traveling every week for work. He
Mhm.
seems to enjoy it, at least for now, so let's keep
Yeah.
that up. But yeah, I whenever you talk about it, I'm like, that brings back some trauma to me.
Well, he's still in it, right? Like, I struggled with it while I was in it for sure, but, like, you don't know the chaos that your life is while you're in it until you experience something different, and he's always done construction,
Mhm.
which has always been sort of a traveling gig. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
think it's
it works
different.
for him. I'm glad it's not
Yeah,
me.
I know.
So let's get into the topic. I so this weekend I saw a series of videos. If anybody has ever heard of Aunt Bri, she is a fractional HR specialist and she helps businesses who don't have a full HR department with all things, onboarding, training, like dealing with employees who are having issues or bosses that need help with how they have conversations, things like that. And so she records them and she's very good about it. She just puts what they're saying up on the screen so that you can't tell, you don't know who she's
Yeah.
talking to, what
But she's
company,
entertaining
anything.
too. Her TikToks are great.
Yes, they're great. And so there have been a lot of them that I'm like, geez, bad
Mhm.
situations and weird situations. But this one was interesting to me. So the one I saw this weekend, she got a call from an employee and they were really frustrated because not their direct boss, but the big boss, he brings in the whole department, let's say,
Mhm.
every week for a feedback call. And this feedback call is not like, we did great on this. This was really good. It was like, your emails sound mean. You need to not copy this person when you did not perform like you should have on that conference call. You know what I mean? Like real,
Yeah.
like pointing at you, Mandy. This is your problem, and this is your problem, and this is your problem. And the employee's like, we don't like it. Like, I know that he's only ever called me out for something kind of minimal, but nobody likes that feeling of just every week you go on a call and you just wait to see if he's going to pick on you, right? And
Mhm.
it's all relative feedback, but there could be a better way, right? And so Bree is like, okay, so here's what they have the problem with, and I agree. I think that he's like, well, I'm just trying to make it so that this is concise and we just get this over with and blah blah blah. And she's like, no, I understand. I don't even expect you to have a separate call. with each person, but maybe you have this group dumping of your frustrations from the week on their managers and have them do it privately. Like she's
Yeah.
giving him some options. And she's like, so what I suggest is that on the next call, you say, this will be our last call like this. I won't be giving feedback this way anymore. I understand that maybe it's not well received. So I will be chatting with your managers and they will be giving you your feedback privately. But this guy who loves to give the feedback cannot take the feedback. He is very angry and getting passive aggressive and like, oh, so I just can't give feedback anymore. And she's like, hang on, no, that's not what I said. And so she's like, here's what I recommend. He goes, well, I'm not going to have that. I'm not going to do this on a call. I'll just send an email. And my immediate thing is like, you can't call
Now
yourself
you're
out.
just an
Yeah.
asshole.
Yeah. And so anyway, then there's more parts of this where now she's talking to that person's boss, like a higher executive. And he's like, well, he came to me and he said, you told him he cannot give feedback anymore. And you know what I mean? So, of course, he just took it and he heard what he wanted to hear. And so then it just escalated because they're like, dude, you
Yeah.
are being obtuse on purpose because you got your feelings hurt. This is the feedback that everyone has to get. Like, it's just, I don't know. It kind of pissed me off. And the reason I wanted to bring it here is that I know that we've talked about feedback for sure, but I do want to dig further into good and bad feedback and the feelings that people get while giving or receiving feedback and how we can maybe do better, both as the employer receiving and the employer giving.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that go into this. This episode could be 2 hours long or longer, if we were to
Hmm.
dive into all aspects of feedback, but what I'm catching from this particular reel from Aunt Bri is the public versus private of it all,
Hmm. Yeah.
which I have mixed feelings on.
Hmm.
Why bosses just ruin the opportunity for growth within feedback.
Hmm.
I also think that, we like to talk about bad bosses, but like to your point, I don't think they're bad bosses. They're just not trained on how to give feedback. And conversely, as an employee, when were you trained on how to receive it productively?
Hmm.
We
Well, and
weren't.
I'll fight you a little bit. There are bad bosses.
There are bad bosses.
But even
Absolutely.
even some of the people and this is I always say this to Dan about parenting, okay?
Uh-huh.
So there is parenting, right? And there is losing your cool.
Not the same
Okay?
thing.
No. And so you can give that feedback. I do not appreciate when I walk into your room and the towel is on the floor wet, right?
Hmm.
Or there's I can't believe you. Your fucking towel's on the floor again. You know what I mean? Now,
Yep.
one is constructive and one is your ego getting hurt because they repeated that same behavior that you don't like, right?
That you find
And so,
disrespectful.
yes, so I think that I've had bosses who are good inside and do not know how to give feedback correctly. And I've had bosses whose ego is tied all the way up and they need to call you out. They need to I don't want to say hurt your feelings, but they need to tell you who's the boss and they need to tell you what you need to fix because you're not in charge. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and I think it's because those particular bosses, instead of using feedback for growth, they use it
mhm,
as an outlet for their own frustrations.
right.
And
Yes.
whether that's as a parent, as a boss, as sometimes even a friend or a partner in a relationship, I
Hmm.
think we're all guilty of that to some degree. But it goes back to being self aware enough and in control enough to be able to receive feedback about yourself or about your performance, and how it's given is a huge piece of that.
Yes.
Not all feedback is bad feedback, and
Hmm.
it shouldn't always be tied to your worth. And I think that's one of the main reasons that people take it so personally, is because it is all tied to our ego and it's
Hmm.
tied to our identity. Like if you
Yep.
come at me with negative feedback about my work that I feel like I put blood, sweat, and tears into, or I thought was really great and I'm proud of it, and you just shredded it,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have feelings about that. And your tone and your delivery they're going to play a big piece in how I receive what you said.
it also depends on where it's coming from too, you
Yeah.
know? And so I agree with everything that you just said, like it just there's a lot of tips and tricks that we can give to make this a little bit better.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that one of the biggest things that we can do on the boss side of things is to keep the frequency and the timing in check, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you have quick feedback for me that is really shouldn't hurt my feelings, you should be able to say that in the moment. If you bottle that up and save that for a quarterly review, where it's like this really small problem is now a huge thing because you've like let me do this really small
Yeah,
thing
it's
for a whole
compounded.
quarter,
Mm.
and now it's like my habit, you're reinforcing a bad habit in me by not addressing it in the moment.
Mhm.
But maybe out loud on a it sounds like a look who got busted call, like you're just waiting to find out like
Mhm.
what you screwed up. That's not productive for anyone.
Mhm. Well, and again, so I they always say praise publicly, uh critique privately, what is it?
Like praise in public,
Coach.
coach in private. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with that a lot of the time, right? I completely agree. But there are times when you could say, like, let's just say that we're on a team call and I'm like, and Mandy, also, if you would just make sure that when you're doing this, that you do this, right? Like, just
There's a
just make
difference in,
sure.
yeah, asking, even if it's repeated where it's like, "Hey, and don't forget," I know this has been an issue, but, like, "Don't
Mhm.
forget, if you do it this way, this alleviates this problem."
Yes. Right. And that's saying it in a way that might make it a little bit easier to accept. But also, that's a small thing, right? If I said, "Hey, make sure that when you get done with that you check it off the list." Right? This is
Yeah.
something that we talk about a lot, and it's probably annoying to hear the reminder, but it's not like, and also make sure to not suck whenever you send that email,
Yeah.
you know?
Also, if you could, learn to write a representation, that'd
Yeah,
be so cool.
like, if only I didn't have to change everything when you turn things in, right? Like, those are whole different feedbacks, like, one's a
Mhm.
reminder, and one is a whole shift of how you do your job, kind of,
Right.
and slightly an attack. So, what I was so frustrated about watching that series of videos was that this call was only to give feedback, right? And I think it's okay to have private calls only to give feedback, but there wasn't any positive feedback. It was all just the, I don't like when you do this. You need to start doing
Yeah.
this. Everyone get on my same page. And that is not good for morale, right? But if you're on a regular call and you decide to give in the moment
Mhm.
small bits of feedback,
Constructive feedback.
yes, yes, absolutely, then we're all good here. But I
Yeah.
just don't think I think that the frustration gets the best of some people and then they have to attack a little bit because they're like, it
Well,
just
because you feel
came
like you have to
to,
balance things out. We gotta even things out a little bit, and
yeah, well,
that's not
and
productive
it's
either, but it's natural instinct.
right. But if I'm going to get frustrated and be like, Mandy, check things off the list. That's all I'm asking. I just need to know when it's done, right? Like, and I have raised my voice saying those things before in a fun way, right?
I was gonna say
But
you've never actually, like, had an outburst, but you've been like, "Okay, listen, I'm gonna say it again. Can you just freaking check things off the list?" Like, and then we're right? Like, we're
yes.
laughing. Like, it's
And
not like
it's
we all know this is a pain point, okay?
right.
Like, this is
But
not the
this is a
first time
way,
I've heard it.
yes, but this is a
That's a
way that you
huge
can
thing.
receive it too, because you're like,
Yes.
damn, I know. But I would not do that in mixed company, right?
In
Like,
front of
that's
other people,
right.
I would be
Because,
mortified.
but I mean, like, here on the podcast, I just did that.
Yeah, you're telling the world that I don't check things off the list. Here's the
Yeah,
deal. Screw your list. I don't care.
I
If it
know.
got done, screw your
You'll
list.
find out.
You'll find out when you get it in your inbox. Don't worry about the list.
No. But it's I wouldn't do it on a call with Mallory too. I wouldn't be like, and Mallory, freaking do this, and Mandy, do this. I'm freaking out of here. You know what I mean? Like, I would never
Yeah.
do that because that's not effective. in any way. Even though it's funny, like we have fun with it, it still is serious feedback, you know what I mean? Like feedback that I really want to give. I think also though, I am not trained. And I think that that's one of the things that we really need to think about if we are the boss, if we are a potential boss, like if we are going to be leading a department at some point, or even having one person work under us, you you have to figure out how to give feedback and how to give each person on your team feedback, because some people, I think I've talked about this on the podcast. I had a boss who screamed in my face, and I was like, so we can't have that, because that is not how, like, that shut me down. I don't even know what you said. And he's like, oh, I didn't realize, because that's how I need to be coached, is to
Yeah.
just scream in my face, right? It's like, well, I just need you to say it calmly one time and I will never do it again, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that everybody needs different feedback in different ways. Whenever I interviewed my interns, I said, how do you like to receive feedback? And they both said, in person or on text or on email, don't let it build up kind of
Yeah.
situation. But then I had to figure out, like, some need really direct and some need
A
kind
lot
of
of kid
pussyfooting
gloves.
around it,
Yeah.
and just like kind of getting there and just like tapping on it and going back, you know what I mean? Like it really needs to be like
People's
very
sensitivity
easy.
is different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and even if you don't have anyone who's like super sensitive, you have to be able to get through to them, because
Yeah.
I would like to give feedback once on a situation, right? Most people would. I only want to receive it once as well from a boss. So, but I do think that everyone needs to receive it differently. So that's very important to think about. Like, what do they need?
Yeah. I kind of want to go back to that the concept of public feedback and the negativity behind it, because
Mm-hmm.
I've always, especially, I say always, in the corporate mindset, in the workplace, not just corporate, but like in the
Yeah.
workplace mindset, have always subscribed to that, like praise in public, coach in private
Mm-hmm.
mentality. And, when we brought this topic up, I immediately, kind of out of the blue, was triggered by the concept of like just coaching in general. And when I think
Mm-hmm.
about coaching, I think about sports. And that is not how teams work. That is not how athletes are coached. If you're on a
Uh-huh.
team and there's something that needs improvement, you get coached immediately, and it's in front of the entire team. And most of the time, that feedback is taken for what it is, because it's about your performance. It's not about who you are. Nobody is saying, "Why do you suck so bad at football?" You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, it's not like
Yeah.
I couldn't even give an example about football because I'm not that girl. But like for me as a cheerleader in high school, right? Like if I were doing jumps and somebody said, "Hey, point your toes when you're doing your toe touch." To me, that kind of goes back to what you were saying. Like, that's a reminder. I already know to do that, but I wasn't doing it. So you said
Mm-hmm.
it, and now I'm going to focus on it and I'm going to get
Yeah.
better. I don't believe that that is incorrect in public. It's okay to
Yeah.
give constructive feedback in front of the team when it is for the good of the team,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's a reminder for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone should be doing this, right? But where public feedback fails is when it becomes humiliating, when you get embarrassed, when you feel singled out, and all of a sudden there's no like psychological safety. And if it's coming from a place that you don't trust, like from a
Mm-hmm.
leadership perspective, building that trust and rapport with your team has to come first. You have no business giving feedback, especially negative feedback, to a person in any capacity that you haven't built trust and rapport with. And I think that's a huge breakdown, especially for new leaders. You're coming on a team, you take over a team, and all of a sudden now their performance is your responsibility. And you are put in a position where you're giving feedback on day one, or, even day 30. It's like, bro, I don't even know you and I don't know where this is coming from. And like, it puts everybody on the defense, and
Yeah.
it
Build a
shuts people
relationship
down.
first.
It
Mm-hmm.
creates the resentment and
Mm-hmm.
kills your confidence more than
Mm-hmm.
anything. And I think that having that trust built first is key. And once you have that, like, yes, there are those people, and we were just talking about Paisley and her theater stuff this weekend, she shared with me that one of the things that she loves the most about her director is that he will call you out right there in the moment in front of people, and it is mortifying. Like, it sucks when you're in the middle of, a rehearsal and you don't do something right and he calls you out about it. But she was like, "Make no mistake, I don't ever do that again." Like,
Mhm.
it's so great because you always know where you stand with him because he's
Mhm.
consistent. He gives
Yep.
everybody feedback in the moment in the same way, but he also does that positively too.
Mhm. Yeah.
It
So, but that is, I think that there's an expectation too, right?
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying, like, they've created the consistency and the
Mhm.
expectation that this is a moment of training, you are watching my performance, and I am expecting, I'm waiting, and I'm hungry for what you're gonna say that's gonna help me be better.
Yeah, because both people, and I'm sure that there are kids, Paisley sees the value in that, but there are kids who hate it and hate that about their director, right? So you
Absolutely.
can't please everyone, but I do think that if you give an expectation, so if I had a team of 10 instead of just,
Mhm,
technically 4, 2, whatever.
mhm.
I would be like, "Hey, during these calls, if there is something that I see, because we're going over all the projects that you guys did this month, if there's something that I see, I'm going to say it in the moment. This is not because I think that you do a bad job. I just want to cover it and make sure that everyone sees that if there's not a title page on the presentation, I'm always going to want one, right? But if you give that because you also have taken the time to build up your team before you started giving feedback, that's a big deal. So you've built them all up and everyone trusts you because there's a relationship there and they see they're coming from a place of growth and not of frustration and anger in what they've done wrong. I think that if I said this is how it's going to go, no hard feelings, right? Like let's just knock these things out. I think it would be a lot like that, right? But there would still be somebody who's like, I just wish that my mistakes wouldn't be called out in front of the group. And it's like, but we're a team. And that's what I loved about what you said about cheerleading. It's like we're a team. We all have to do this because the person next to you is seeing something. The person next to you is seeing something and want to make sure that they know what the standard is, right? So you're
Yeah.
upholding a standard in situations like that. I don't think I could take it personally as an employee if we're all just trying to get to the perfect presentation,
Yeah.
right?
The same standard. Absolutely. I think you're right. And I think when the feedback that you have to give is really, really specific to that individual and doesn't apply to the team, that is the perfect opportunity to have an offline conversation directly with that person so that it doesn't affect the ego and the confidence and like your intention is not to humiliate. So don't do it. Do it privately in a way that is constructive, not demeaning. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big piece of it when bosses are coaching out of anger or frustration versus talking to somebody about their growth opportunities, whether it's been bottled up or whether, I just feel like in some of those instances where you get that private constructive feedback, sometimes it like feels like a punch to the gut because you're like, this is the first time I've ever heard this. How
Mhm.
this feels like it's a big deal, but you're just now saying it. And that, I mean, that just goes to show you, you have to hit that feedback really quick. The leaders
Yeah.
who avoid it or they get really vague with it leading up to those moments, it does not going to land well ever
Mm.
because it's going to
No.
seem like it's out of left field. And now the trust that I thought I had in you, I don't because I thought you were really happy. And now all of a sudden I'm finding out that you're not. So I can't read you. It breaks things down more than it actually fixes the one problem. But
Mm.
let's go back to the real issue here is no one teaches feedback, right?
Mhm.
We've seen it a million times. Bosses get put into roles and it's like, fake it till you make it, get in where you fit in, and here we go. You're going to learn as we go. And that's really tough because there's no training manual, there's no
Yeah.
guide to how to give great feedback, but there's also not a great guide or training in most jobs about how to receive it productively.
Mhm.
And that's a
Yeah,
huge,
I mean, that's kind of self-work, right?
Yeah.
and it's also based on how you were raised, and it's based on your past trauma and all the things, like if you've had a boss who would scream in your face, you are nervous in
Mhm.
general about feedback and you see feedback only as that negative thing because if you've worked for an angry person, you've probably never gotten good feedback, right? But
Yeah.
feedback is both good and bad. So I believe that you have to learn, I don't know. You have to learn how to trick your mind a little bit. I've had to do that to not take it personally. And obviously, there's no way to not take it personally when it comes from that person who's saying things out of frustration and being vague. Like somebody might think and it's like, "No, no, 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 no." Right?
Yeah.
It's like, "No, this is what I saw and we need to fix that because of this, this, and this," right? Like, here's how
Mhm.
it will make you better. Here's how it will make us better as a team. But some people, like, how do I learn how to receive it if it's always going to be given in a shitty way? You know?
Yeah, and you're right. This is a lot of self-work, and,
Hmm.
I think that when it comes to feedback, we've been blaming bosses.
Hmm.
Not just on this call, but, like,
Hmm.
in life, that's the natural thing that there is to do is, shine the light on how it was given, and that's the excuse for why we take feedback so poorly. That's not always the whole story.
No.
But there's a couple of things that really affect that, right? So, like,
Hmm.
if I'm in a situation where I know I'm about to be on a call or I'm about to be in a meeting where we're going to talk about an event or we're going to talk about a project or something that we've just wrapped up
Hmm.
and we're taking notes on what went really good and what maybe didn't and needs work. I am already in the mindset for receiving feedback of how I can do better, right? Or
Yes.
maybe it's a quarterly review. I'm already in the headspace of, okay, I'm about to find out all the things that I need to work on. You can go into that positively and go, I'm going to make a to do list on how I can grow. Or you can go into it and be like, can't wait and see what he says next. This is going to be fun. And you kind of go
Mhm.
in with your defenses up and maybe your boxing gloves on. And that's not productive either.
No,
Right.
it is a whole mindset thing. You do have to, I always specifically, I knew I was gonna get critiqued whenever I would present because I was the entire time that I was in the job, I was growing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get to a point where I was perfect. I don't think anybody
No
does in
one does.
public speaking.
Yeah.
But I never got to a point, let's say, where people were like, "You no notes," right? There was always notes. So I knew that I was going to get notes. I literally didn't know what they were going to be. Okay. Because I would black out and not know what I was saying, at least for the first
Yeah. That happened a
year.
lot.
Yeah. But I, I don't know. I would go up there and kill it sometimes. And I would be like, we'll see if anybody has anything to say. And then someone would be like, would you like to hear my notes? Right. And I'd
Hmm.
be like, why do you have notes? Like, I killed it. And after one time of that, I was like, I will be asking every single time, no matter how good or bad I think that I did, I'll be asking for the feedback
Hmm.
so that I can try and add that. And sadly, the public speaking sitch for me, I always tried to take the notes. Like, I took them personally really well, but like I wasn't always able to put them into use because I didn't always have control over that because it's still really
Yeah.
hard for me. But in general, like I took that well because I was in the complete mindset of I'm not perfect. I'm sure that these people who just watched me do this, who I respect, all have a few things that I could work on. But
Yeah.
also, they're going to tell
I
me
always
some things that I
appreciated that
did really
about
good
you.
at, you
I
know?
always really appreciated that about you because you would say, not even just you weren't just open to receiving the feedback once it was done. Before you would present, you would say, if you don't mind, pay attention. I'd like some feedback on this. And that opens the door for a teammate or even a leader to be able to give feedback in a place that is welcome. Like
Mhm.
you might have done something in that thing that has bothered me for a really long time, and you just opened up the door for me to address something that
Yeah.
could be a major game changer for you that, like, you had no idea. And
Mhm.
I didn't feel like it was my place to tell you until you asked for it.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing about that.
No.
So that was in a place where I wasn't that confident, right? But put me in the everyday job. If someone came to me and they're like, "I have some feedback about your visit notes. I have some feedback," and I'm like, "They're perfect in every way. Like, I literally have them perfected." That would have been like, "What the hell?" You know?
Yeah.
And that's where, to me, I think leaving yourself open to no matter what, even the things that you feel really confident in, you can always be growing and getting your mindset right about that. And I would like to, like, the quarterly reviews always stressed me out because I'm like, I feel like they've been saving all of these things to say to me. Who knows what it's going to be? And then I'm going to feel like shit because I've been messing up all quarter long, let's
And
say.
didn't know.
Right. That ugh, that's a bad feeling. So, I would rather get in the moment feedback
Yeah.
for a
Well,
couple of reasons, but also I think that it's important to set up something more regularly, once a week, that is a feedback session so that it's all taken care of really quickly,
and it should
and
be quick. It should not
it should
be
be
drawn
quick
out.
because there can't be that many things in a
Yeah.
week's time that you really need to work on. So it's a lot more digestible and you can handle it. You aren't
Yeah.
gonna buck it because you're like, "What? I don't even remember the last time that I did this," you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, "No, that happened this week. It's something that I would love for you to
It's
work on."
fresh.
Yeah. So I think that that is huge to me.
Yeah, absolutely. The timing and the frequency matter a lot. The
Mhm.
other thing that matters a lot, along with the timing and the frequency, is the positive and the negative of it all. Like,
Mm.
we keep talking about feedback and saying the word feedback because it's a nice way of saying criticism, right?
Mhm.
But feedback is just information.
Yes.
It's
It's
simply
just what
just
I think.
information.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not bad. It is simply what it is.
Mhm.
And I think that we would be more receptive to the feedback that is not overall negative if we got more of the feedback that is positive. It is in our nature to be looking for things that can improve and not look at the things that are already perfect all around us, right? Like, how
Mhm.
many times do you complain about the rain when you have shitty weather? How many times do we talk about the freaking weather on this podcast, right? Like, I don't know why I'm making this analogy. I guess
Yeah.
we're just in that phase of life.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't often go outside and just sit and go, man, the flowers really are pretty today. Like,
Mhm.
you might in passing, and I'm not saying I never do, but when it comes to our natural instinctive things, complaining in general about things that we wish were better comes a lot more naturally. And so I think that as leaders and even as peers, we could all do a better job at pointing out what is really great and not taking those things for granted so that when there is something that can be improved, it doesn't feel like you need to like literally rip up the whole garden bed, right? The flower bed's not ruined, man. We just need to like water over there. It's okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and you saying that, I'm going, "You know what? I feel like in the moment, I'm like, great job on that. That was awesome, whatever." But if we're having a weekly review, I am going to start writing down every time that I was happy with you in a week. You know what I mean? Like every
Is this
time.
what we're doing now?
Sure. I mean, but as a boss, I think that that's a really good idea is to say, because you're writing down in your notes, you're writing down the 3 times this week I didn't get copied. I didn't get CC'd on something that I wanted to be CC'd on. I'm writing that down to give as feedback. I'm writing down, every little thing I'm writing down. If I'm doing a weekly thing, I'm
Yeah.
writing it down. To be able to give the feedback, but it's like, are you writing down all of the things where you're like, that got to me a lot sooner than I thought that it was going to?
Yeah.
Like she was finished with that a lot sooner than I thought. I need to write that down so I can say, great job with your time management and getting that done way ahead of deadline, right? Do you
Yeah.
think that that positive reinforcement of saying something that you said thank you for. You said, "Oh, thank you for sending," right?
Mhm.
But if you make a big deal about that it was before, do you think that over time that could help cure some procrastination? Potentially, right? Because everyone's always trying to find what feels good to them,
Right.
and hearing that great feedback could be potentially helpful, right? But you
And it
also
all goes
don't
back to
want to.
learning your people. If
Yeah, it
that's what's gonna
does.
motivate them, then
Yeah.
yeah, get on that bandwagon.
But I think that so many bosses think that they are there to make their team better, and they think if they tell them all the things they need to fix, that that is what's going to make them better. And people need positive reinforcement too.
Yeah.
And not just in passing, like a real conversation, right? Because again, I can say, "Thank you so much for sending that." And your brain gets the teeniest, tiniest spike, but you expected that reaction because you finished the project, whatever. But like, how can we as bosses make sure that we are focused on it? Because if during a feedback session you're only giving negative feedback, it
Yeah.
doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like they leave just completely defeated.
Yeah. And that's why I think the exercise that we got really good at doing, the stop, start, change, continue,
Mhm.
was so impactful for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, when we go into those conversations where we're going to do it, I have pre prepared on my own what I want to stop, start, change, and continue. You have prepared your own list, and then we're kind of comparing notes. You might see some things on the list that I didn't see about myself. And I may have some things that you're like, that wasn't even on my radar, but yeah, go ahead, work on that. But those conversations always end on the what we're going to continue. It always
Mhm.
ends on the positive things that have come out of this, right?
Mhm.
That where you can see growth over time, meeting after meeting after meeting. These are the things that we're working on, and these are all the things that have moved to the continue pile, like where you can see the pattern of growth in this individual. And I
Mhm.
think that, whether it's the quarterly meeting reviews, whether you have these conversations weekly, that may not be feasible in every work environment, right? You, you have leaders that lead teams of way too many people to have a meeting
Mhm.
weekly about this. I get that. But
Mhm.
maybe it's monthly. I don't know what that cadence looks like. But if you're able to go back to a document, these are the things that we've talked about. These are the conversations that we've had. I have given you feedback in the moment and I made note of that. So we're going to add it to this list. Those bigger, deeper conversations, in my opinion, are not the time for brand new, you just hit me out of left field feedback moments. Because if I'm blindsided by that, like, whoa, where did that come from? That
Mhm.
means that I've done something along the way where you had the opportunity to correct me in the moment softly, right? Like in
Mhm.
a way that's not going to be such a sucker punch at the end. And I could have had the opportunity to make this go away when it was a small problem before it
Mhm.
got to a big
Yeah.
problem that needs to go on a quarterly review list. That's never
Yeah.
that should never be the first time that you hear big feedback like that.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing that I wanted to add is just that we talked about adding some good in with the, I don't want to say bad feedback, but the
Yeah.
criticism type feedback. But sometimes a compliment sandwich situation does not always hit right because they don't hear the compliment because all they can find is the
Yep.
criticism in the middle. But I think that it's really important to give positive feedback all by itself as well, right?
Yeah.
And make it big. And public is good, private is good, whatever, whatever your team member needs. But that is very important because if they can't, if the good only cushions the bad, if it doesn't actually do the positive reinforcement thing that you need it to do, then it didn't get through. And
Yeah.
so I think that it's important if you are a boss to somebody or a teammate. I think it's really important for the team to do this as well. So it's not always like, I'm going to tell her again that we need this, blah, 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 because you're working as a team. I'm not going to tell her again that she needs to point her toes, blah, blah, blah. It's like just on its own, your toes are super pointed and we love to see it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's awesome. Give the good
I
feedback.
I love a compliment sandwich. I know that is something that you very specifically are like, I don't hear the positive in it. I'm gonna hear the positive and the negative, and that does soften things for me because it tells me that you don't think that I completely suck at everything that I
Mhm.
do. There's room for improvement, but there's also some really good things. But if that's the only time that I hear positive feedback is when it's coupled with an opportunity, it feels a little empty.
Yeah.
The positive feedback has to stand on its own sometimes. To your point,
Mhm.
especially if it's something that I've been working on, when you notice a shift or a change and you don't acknowledge it, doesn't really feel like it's worth making the change for you because it may have made you tell me to stop pointing my toes and I'm not getting the negative anymore, but I didn't get anything positive out of it either, so that felt
Yeah.
anticlimactic, right? Like
Mhm.
that doesn't always hit right, but I think that when you get the positive feedback prior to the negative and it's like part of your relationship, the pattern, right? You are developing and reinforcing the trust and the behaviors that go along with that, right?
Mhm.
So if I know when to expect feedback from you and how to take that, then I know what behaviors that I need to continue to get the reaction from you that I'm looking for.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that I used the word reaction because I think the reactive feedback is a lot of where leaders go wrong. When you
Mhm.
are really reactive, it's one thing like correct in the moment, absolutely. When it's about performance and it's really productive and a minor thing that you can just nip in the bud really fast. But if you are reacting emotionally, whether it's out of anger or frustration or, repetition where you're like,
Mhm.
oh, again, that is like, it's just not going to be productive. It feels good.
It's not. Yeah, it feels good to just say it loud.
Like, yeah, well,
Mhm.
your room's not clean, so I guess you're not going. And it's like did that help anything? It didn't. All it did was reinforce to me that I didn't do a good enough job for you. And I never do. And that doesn't feel
Yeah.
good to anyone. If
No,
every
it
compliment
doesn't.
came with a but, it's not much of a compliment, right?
No, nobody likes that. Nobody likes
You
that
stop even
because
hearing the compliment. So
right.
compliments stand on their own sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that this is all so impactful. I really do. The only thing that I would add is just I think that it is good for a boss and employee to talk about feedback, right? To talk
Yeah,
about how I can best receive it before it's ever given. All right.
yeah,
Like, how is best for if I'm your boss and you're the employee, how do you like to receive feedback? Okay. But for real, if I have something that is going to hurt your feelings because you tried really hard and failed, right? How do you want to hear that? Do you want to hear it on the
yeah.
phone? Do you wanna hear it in person? Do you want to have a weekly meeting where you feel like we just,
Do you wanna
just a little bit at a time? Yeah,
schedule a
you
call
know
that's gonna hurt your feelings or it's gonna make you sick at your stomach for the 3 days you have to wait to hear what it is that I'm gonna say?
yeah, but, like, everyone has their way, and the same with bosses, like, you can tell your boss, like, "This is how you're gonna get the very best from me."
Yeah,
If you tell me something calmly one time, you're never going to see that behavior or that mistake or that problem again. So I just want to let you know that so that you don't have to try and guess how to give me feedback.
yeah,
Because wouldn't it be just so nice if you didn't have to try and figure it out and say, I don't know how it's going to go. I'm going to be really like kid gloves
yeah,
with this. And all you had to say was, I didn't really enjoy the way that you did that. Please do it this way. My brain goes, okay, that seems easy enough, you know, like,
right.
or I have questions or whatever, but it doesn't feel like an attack that's like, why did you do it that way? Right? Because that's the reactive that sometimes happens. And if I know how to handle you, I'm going to do it better. So,
Yeah.
as a boss, find
Well,
out how it works for them. And as an employee, have that conversation. Like, I just want to give you a cheat code to getting the best work out of me.
I think the other cheat code that we need to share for employees specifically is you're not in control of how your boss is gonna give feedback. You can communicate how you best give it or
Mhm.
best receive it, and hopefully they will learn and grow in the relationship with you. But sometimes you work for a bad boss, or you
Mhm.
work for somebody who doesn't have the capacity to change how they give feedback. And this is just how it's going to be, right? So, how can you best receive feedback, even when it's given in a way that you don't love? And my best advice on that is to separate the delivery from the content. One of the ways that I got to be able to do that was literally sitting in the meeting where I'm given feedback. I would hear what was being said. And when it came to that exact feedback, I would make a note. I need to start checking things off the to do list. Continue listening,
Mhm.
taking it all in, and I'm feeling all the emotions. I got more feedback. Here's another thing that I need to work on. Okay, got it, got it, got it. I'm probably gonna call my teammates or my friends, and we're gonna have a total bitch session over
Mhm.
what just happened. I'm gonna get my emotions out. But when it comes to actually using the feedback for growth, because that's on you, right? It's not your leader's job to grow you. It is your
Mhm.
job to take feedback, put it into action, and grow yourself.
Mhm.
So when you have that list, you can completely separate it from that conversation and you just have the information in front of you. Here are the things that I need to work on that are completely separate from you needing to learn how to give feedback. This is what I need to do. And focus on just the list of content, not the tone,
Yeah.
not the delivery, not the intentions,
Mhm.
the audience, none of that. None of that part matters. Does it matter?
Yeah.
Yes. But for your own
Yeah.
growth, that's
But
not
it
what's
only
important.
matters to your ego. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
That's
yeah.
not what's important for your growth. For your
Mhm.
growth is these are the things that I have control over. The
Mhm.
rest of it is not mine to manage.
Mhm.
And then go from there. Is it easy? No. Is it possible? Absolutely. And if you can
Mhm.
master that, to me, that's part of managing up. I'm
Mhm.
going to put a
Yeah, I'm gonna let
cloud
you
of
go
noise.
spin on your anger
You
about
do
this.
and be a
Yeah.
tornado over there. And I'm going to take the pieces of that that matter and leave the rest of it at the door. And if you're
Mhm.
smart, you won't even have the bitch session with other people because all that does is perpetuate those feelings and rally
Yeah.
people up against it. And it's not going to fix it, it's not going to change it.
Yeah.
So just
Mhm.
let that be its own thing. Can you address those things later in a conversation with your boss? Yes, but address those separately from your growth. Those
Mhm.
are two completely separate conversations.
That's great advice.
I wish that I'd taken it a lot earlier, a lot earlier than I did. I think I have a couple of examples in my mind of times where I was like, "Oh, nailed that. That was awesome."
Mhm.
And the times where I was able to do that, even though I might have been in a shitty situation, though that's a source of pride. That was growth that I saw in myself where I had to work a little extra intentionally to get out of it what was intended for me rather than dwelling on the delivery or
Yeah.
even the intention behind how it was given. You know, you can read into so much. And I think that people just get lost in the sauce. And I did for a really long time. And in
Same.
those scenarios where instead of getting lost in it, I just went down to the nuts and bolts and was like, none of that matters. I'm going to focus on me. What can I
Mhm.
control? What can I change? How can I put into action something that is going to shift this to make it positive for me? And it changed everything.
Yeah.
Did it eliminate those conversations in the future? No, they were just about something different because I actually learned from the things that were told to me.
Yeah.
And that's the point. That's the
Mhm.
point. Take the feedback, leave the noise, and put the feedback into action.
Love it. I love all of it. I'm glad that we talked about this.
Corporate rant down.
Yeah. No, I'm glad we talked about it because I think that regardless of where you work, you are on one side or the other and you're giving feedback. And this is the same with your family and your
Yeah.
friends and every single human in your life. Think about this, right? Think about this and figure out what is going to make this a little bit easier for you because feedback is not easy for almost anybody. It's just not.
No,
So, wonderful.
it is not. It is not. And if you want to be a well rounded human, you can apply that same stuff to being in a relationship, being a parent, being an
Mhm.
employee, being a boss, all of these things. It's about relationships.
Mhm.
So it's about how you interact with every other person in your life, not just professionally. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, while nobody likes feedback, we all have growing to do. We're human and we're
Mhm.
never going to be without fault or opportunity. So
Yeah,
take the ego out
agreed.
of it.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Thanks for chatting with me today.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Good deal. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.